Hello and welcome to this edition of the G24 Newsroom. We are going to make a recap of the top stories of the month of May, mainly in Gabon. And let's go straight to our headlines. In Gabon, the revision of the electoral roll has officially started. ECAS in Gabon, Conference of Ministers in charge of women's rights and gender issues in Libreville. Now in the UK coronation, Charles III and Camilla were crowned King and Queen of the UK during this month of May. Okay, well, we start officially in politics. Okay, so in Gabon, we had the parliamentary that went into a Congress, and the constitution of the country was modified again. We're going to discuss about it with my friend, my colleague here, John Cyril Ondo Mengi. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing good.
Okay, so we're going to have some pictures here of the parliament together seated to discuss about the constitution and the modification. So what was it exactly about, and why was it very important for the period we are in now?
The first thing to say is that we didn't start with the modification of the Constitution. We started with what we call the consultation, the political consultation between the opposition and the majority. This meeting was to set up some, let's say, elements that would allow Gabon in general to go not with what we used to experience, but to try to experience a new aftermath of the election. I mean, to try to avoid some difficulties that we used to have in terms of contestations.
Which kind of difficulties? Can you tell us a bit what was so to avoid because of during this consultation?
Yes, you know that most of the time after the presidential elections, some people
are angry.
Some people are angry, and they used to go to the constitutional court, to try to ask for the counseling of the election and so on and so forth. And the authorities, oppositions, and the majority just say that to try to avoid this kind of situation, we have to try to discuss now and to set up something stronger that would allow us to avoid this kind of situation. But what we said is that we're going to see after the general elections if all that they're putting on the table is going to work in favor of the country. And that's why, without cutting you, that's why it was necessary for the majority to go to the assembly and make a proposal consisting of the modification of the constitution that intervened on 6 articles.
Okay, now, what are those modifications? Not only 6, but can you tell us the more important ones?
The most important ones may be, the fact that before, the elections in plural have to be held on 2 terms or 2 rounds, if you want. But on the following elections, we're only going to experience 1 round.
The second backpedaling, like, aren't we backpedaling because we know that before, during another conference at Ngonje, les assises d'Ngonje, they changed it. We decided that we are going to have 2 rounds, and now we're back at 1 round. What can you say about it?
Backpedaling. I won't say so.
Yeah.
But what is reasonable is that we got to question the reasons that led authorities to go back to the 1 turn or 1 round election. Some arguments are just like, after the crisis of COVID-19, following the crisis of economic crisis, the country doesn't have enough means, to finance elections with 2 rounds. But some opposition leaders are pointing out the fact that this is not, the reason that can be validated. They think that the majority is trying to escape the fact that if we do organize elections with 2 rounds, it could give the opposition the chance, to win the presidential elections.
Okay. Let's go now. We have some images there of the Minister of the Interior, Lambert Noël Mata, and he's talking about enrolling people. And we know that as we are talking now, the process is on. So how is this different from what happened before? And can you tell us about what the government exactly is doing right now about that enrollment?
I want to cite, let's say, the president of the Constitutional Court, Madame Marie-Madeleine Moranso, who said that the voters of 2016 are not going to be the voters of 2023. We see that there is kind of, consciousness from the voters, the inclusion or the enrollment or the registration of voters into the list is a huge event this time. We see we can experience it everywhere in the town, in the city, everywhere you go. But what we got to say as political analysis is that these operations only concern 2 categories
of people.
Those who have never been registered in the list and those who are changing the polling
voting
places.
side,
It's not, these operations do not concern everybody. So we got to be careful about it. And we say that Gabonese, are trying to make their best to gonna vote.
Ali Bongo Ondimba, now we know that he's currently doing a Republican tour. He's been in many provinces. He's been in, I think it's been in Mwila. I think it's been in Oyem.
Not yet.
Not yet in Oyem?
Not yet.
Not yet, but it's been in many parts of
many
Gabon.
parts of the country,
So how should we interpret that movement of the president? What can you say about it?
Officially, everybody say that the president is on a Republican. No,
Not
the president is on a Republican tour.
Okay.
He has been in many provinces, including, Ogwe-Vindo, Otogwe, Ogwe-Lolo, Ogwe-Maritime twice.
Okay.
And this time around, he is in the province of Estuaire. He has been to Congo, he has been to Antum, etc., etc.
And
now
he's even
in the
on the other side.
Yes, yesterday he was in the Greater Libreville. He was in the commune of Akanda
Ovendo. Exactly.
People from the opposition are just saying that the president has started his campaign.
That's what people say. But what is the truth about it?
The truth is that, we are in the electoral period, Anything that the president may do now is going to be interpreted like just being on campaign. Everybody from the opposition or from the majority, whatever they do now is that just that they have started trying to mobilize their headquarters in order to give some signs saying that even though I'm not still officially candidate, but I have the intentions to,
Let me just ask you that. I'm thinking about, there was a man that did this some years ago. He went from provinces to provinces, and he said he was the messenger of the president. And we discovered that behind he had other intentions. Isn't this a mean to tell the population that I am the one, I am here, I am healthy, because people were talking about his health. I am healthy, and we are together, on ensemble, as we say in Gabon.
Yes, this is another reason that explains the Republican tour of Ali Bongo Ondimba. He said himself that he has been absent from the countryside for a long time since I've experienced stroke. It was in 2018. And 5 years later, he has the opportunity to go countryside to meet the population and tell them that I'm no more sick, you can see me moving, talking, I'm with you, and I even expect to be with you above 2023, you know, meaning, for instance, that even though Nair is not still say that he is officially a candidate, but he's also maintaining a kind of suspense, you know.
Okay.
Yes, but truly, surely, you know, the president is trying to be in contact with the population. Yeah.
Okay. Now, we are going to talk about that ECAS gathering that just happened here in Gabon. That conference of ministers, I think, of which department?
Ministers in charge of gender equality, the promotion of women and their empowerment. You know, all those ministers met together in a conference, you know, with the agenda, with the objective to build a common agenda in Central Africa for the promotion of women's rights and their empowerment. And that was from the 25th to the 27th, you know, at the, let's say, Radisson Blu Hotel of Libreville.
Let us listen to the Minister of Justice in Gabon, Erline Antonella Ndembe, as she's talking about that issue.
The issue of women's rights and gender equality has been a political priority for the Gabonese government for several decades now. Indeed, since its first version adopted on March 26, 1991, Article 2 of our Constitution has guaranteed the equality of all citizens before the law, without distinction of origin, sex, opinion, or religion. Later, when the Constitution was revised in 2018, the Constituent Assembly reinforced this equality by enriching in the Constitution the principle of equal access for men and women to electoral mandates, as well as to political and professional responsibilities. To give full effect to this constitutional principle and standards, the government of the Republic, under the very high instruction and guidance of the President of the Republic, head of state, has in recent years adopted and implemented a range of mechanisms to reduce the inequalities that still persist, empower women and other vulnerable people, and combat all forms of discrimination to which they may be subject. These various mechanisms are notably reflected in two major public policies, namely the Gabonese Women Decade 2015-2025, instituted by the head of state Ali Bongo Ondimba in March 2015. With a view to strengthening the role and political social participation of women in building an emerging Gabon. The Gabon Equality Strategy to reduce inequalities between women and men, implemented in 2021, whose content and result will be the subject of an exhaustive presentation during the exchanges we will have throughout this conference.
Okay, John, so what were the headlines of this event?
As I said a moment ago, the main objective consisted in building a common agenda in Central Africa in terms of empowering women, in terms of promoting the women's rights. But at the end of this important conference, you know, the report contained 20 recommendations. I'm not going to go through all these recommendations.
20
you know, 20 is too much. And we also experienced the commitment of some institutions. I remember maybe the World Bank of the United Nations, you know, made an important commitment in terms of $1 million US, you know, that is going to be put on the table to try to support women initiatives, to try to support women businesses, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so I think we said what we had to say about it. So now we are going to switch talking about society and the crowning of of King Charles III in the UK, discussing about his wife Camilla and how it went. Society. Okay, as I said before, we are talking about the coronation of Charles III and Camilla, his wife, that were crowned King and Queen of the United Kingdom. and to discuss about it, we receive on this site Mr. Ralph Obanja, doctor in British civilization and expert. How are you doing, Ralph?
I'm fine, thank you, Mr. Lee Mongoy.
Okay, so now we are discussing about the crowning of the king. Can we say that it was highly time for the UK to change its monarch?
Of course, because you see, with the death of the Queen Elizabeth II, it was normal that Charles would replace her. And he was proclaimed king in September. He had to formalize it in being crowned on May the 6th.
Okay, what are the comments we can make on the ceremony, how it went?
Yes, the ceremony went in 8 phases. The recognition, the oath, what else, the investiture, and so forth. It happened well. Many guests were invited. Among them were high-profile figures. For example, our president, President Ali Bongo Ondimba, and his wife, First Lady Sylvia Bongo Ondimba, were part of the adventure.
Okay, John Cyril, can we say that Gabon being present there during the crowning of the king, because he's also the head of the Commonwealth, can we say it was a kind of statement that now we are together?
Yeah, the statement maybe, but let's remind that Gabon, joined the Commonwealth on the 25th of June 2022, becoming the 36th member of the 35th member of that organization, that intergovernmental organization, and the fact that the president and the first lady, as just Ralph Obanja said, were present at the coronation of Charles III was, the fact for people to really see that Gabon is assuming its membership into this organization. And there is also a kind of particularity, that is the fact that, both head of states, if we can say so, from one part, King Charles III, and the other side, Ali Bongo Ondimba, are very committed in, the preservation of the environment. And on this specific aspect, King Charles, at the time, Prince Charles, used to come to Gabon to try to strengthen, his participation, to try to show his support to the efforts of environment preservation policies implemented here.
Okay, Ralph,
yes?
Joe Biden was not there. He was not during this coronation.
Okay.
Can we say that there is a kind of problem between the UK and the US because he was not there?
I would say no. There is no problem. Their relationship...
So why was he absent?
The problem is just that it's a kind of tradition. No president, no American, no US president has ever attended a ceremony like that. But
is it a kind of protestation, like we are the US, we don't go to crowning?
Yes, it has to do with history. But the thing is that Joe Biden could not come because he would break that law, that unwritten law. But he did something extraordinary. He sent his wife, Jill Biden, to represent him highly and validly. So we can say that the United States sent a representative.
Okay, now we are going to see some people, British public, really excited about the coronation of King Charles III. Let's listen to some people.
Since last night, 6 o'clock.
You must be very excited about the upcoming coronation.
Yes, I am interested in the historical moment.
Yeah, I think he's going to do a great job. I think that he's, going to step into some fabulous shoes. So yeah, I think he'll do well.
I think he'll modernise it for the younger generation to make it fair on the young and the old. Because at the end of the day, it's been really focused on the older generation.
Okay, we saw that people seems to be very fine with that coronation. But during the ceremony, Prince Harry, who was there, but his wife was not. Can we say that he's still that thing, they had a kind of feud between Harry and his wife and the late Queen Elizabeth II? Is there still any kind of frustration between both?
Of course, there is. It's no secret that the royal family is having some trouble, for example, dealing with Prince Harry and his wife, Meghan Markle. First of all, they had a show on Oprah Winfrey's.
Exactly.
And at that moment, it was difficult. They revealed some secrets. They treated the royal family as a racist family.
Yeah.
The second aspect was that he had an agreement with Netflix where he wanted to have a show there. Again, he would be revealing some secrets dealing with the royal family. And the third aspect, which is recent, is the publication of his book, his memoirs, entitled Spare, in which he is criticizing, revealing some secrets, be them true or not, we don't know, but he criticized his family.
Out there in the public space.
Yes, and when he came, excuse me to interrupt you, he came alone because his family, his wife mostly, is not welcomed. He had to come alone to be there. That's what I can say.
Okay, John, can we say that it is something that can break the core of the royal family?
I don't know.
Because people say that it is the end, because with that crowning, that people saying that in not long, people will maybe make a kind of, how do we say that, people are going to vote for the destitution of the kingship in the UK because of that kind of stuff that are out in the public space. So what do you think about it?
A part of this specific aspect or specific event, there are many people who are even wondering about, the duration or the continuation of the kingship in Great Britain. But when we see the rate of those who are still attached to this tradition, I do not think that the story around the story around this, let's say, personal affairs of Harry is going to put the crown in danger, because we know that Great Britain, the coronation of King Charles III comes maybe 70 years after, So British people have been waiting for this event, and we know that I can assume that, this is, every, let's say, every authority, can have some problems, but I do not think that this problem is going to put in danger or going to endanger the continuation of the kingship.
Okay, so we're going to end.
I don't think so.
Our time is almost finished, but we're going to end about this question about Gabon and the Commonwealth. People are worrying. Many people, because Gabon is a French-speaking country, and they say that now in the Commonwealth, then we are going to be an English-speaking country. What can we say about it, Ralph?
I can tell you that they are worrying for nothing, because the acquisition of the English language is something important in the development of a country. And adopting English because here in our country, I will tell you, English is having the status of a foreign language.
Okay.
So it means that when we are learning it in classrooms. Outside classrooms, we just speak French. If we change the status of the English language, making it a second language, from that moment, we will take it a bit like an administrative language, and it will attract some investors. It will create many opportunities that people can't even imagine. And what we are doing here, the Commonwealth, the entry of the country into the Commonwealth is essential for our future generations.
Okay, what can we say about it, John? Are you afraid that Gabon will become an English-speaking country? Or are you glad about it?
I'm not afraid of it. I would even be happy. I would be happy. I would be happy. I would be glad for that. Why? Speaking many languages, I may say foreign languages, would be an advantage for the country, Everything that we do now in terms of science, that the Anglo-Saxon world has dominated the world for ages. And that will be an opportunity for Gabonese people to really be interested in English and study it at school. But for the time being, French remains the official language of Gabon, so they don't have to be afraid of it. If they personally want to study English for their own purposes, this is the time to do it, and we try to do it. We studied English at the university,
together.
and we now trying to do our best in this language. We are not mastering it perfectly, but we try our best. We, for instance, like me, I've never been abroad. All that I have, I took it, you know, I learned it just right there at the Mabugo University, and I think that many other Gabonese can also do the same, going to universities, using many tools to try to, using tools, different tools that they have to try to study English, and they will see that with this language, you know, doors are just going to be open to them.
So thank you for coming, Mr. Ralph Obonja. I remind that you are Doctor in British Civilization and Literature at ENS.
Yes, of
I think.
course.
What is ENS?
École Normale Supérieure.
Okay.
It's doing well. We are the English department there.
Okay.
As head of department.
That's amazing. Gentleman Domingue, thank you for coming. So we have reached the end of this edition of the G24 Newsroom. You can still follow us on social networks. Don't forget that we have Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere. Life is what you make it. Goodbye. See you soon.